I want to create my own fashion collection, but I have no idea where to start. I'm going to give you a taste of my first 3 modules, the 3 classes from my course titled Create Your Fashion Collection and Launch Your Own Brand. Let's get started. Hello everyone, my name is Nino. I'm the founder and creative director of Fashion Premier Academy. Welcome. One of the biggest problems I see with aspiring designers is not a lack of creativity, it's a lack of sequence. They don't know what's next. People learn a little bit of sketching, a little bit of sewing, a little bit of branding here and there. They look at trends in some fabrics and they create a Pinterest board. And 6 months later, they have learned a lot of information, but they still don't have a collection. So today I'm going to show you a different way to think about the process. Don't start with the garment. Start with the idea. Let's begin with module number 1. The first principle is very simple. Design your own fashion collection and launch your own brand. It sounds very obvious, right? But there's something important hidden inside that statement. You're not simply designing a garment, you're designing a collection. You're thinking about the possibility of building a brand. Those are 2 very different ways of thinking. A beginner might say, I want to design a dress. A designer begins by asking, what am I trying to say? Who am I designing for? What is the aesthetic? What is the point of view? How do these garments belong together? That's the beginning of design thinking. Principle number 2, how do you design a line and develop a brand? Imagine you're creating 5, 10, or 15 garments, right? They shouldn't look like 15 completely unrelated ideas. There needs to be a relationship between them. They need to be cohesive. Maybe it's the silhouette or the color palette, the fabrication. Maybe it's the proportion or the attitude. Maybe it's the story that you're telling. The collection needs to feel like it came from one creative mind. That's what creates coherence. And eventually, that coherence becomes part of your brand identity. A fashion collection is not simply a group of clothes. It's a point of view. You're saying, this is what I see. This is what I believe. This is how I interpret fashion. And that's where you begin moving from simply making clothes to becoming a fashion designer. Module number 2. Now, this is where we begin getting much more specific. The first principle here is identify your target customer. For a designer, understanding your customer is actually incredibly creative because you're asking, who is this person? Who am I designing for? What do they like? How do they live? What do they value? What do they want to communicate about themselves? What makes them feel confident? What do they wear? And perhaps most importantly, why do they want to wear what I'm creating? Think about this. Why should they buy your design, right? Your customer is part of the design process. And let me pause here for a second, because if you're beginning to see how all these pieces fit together, this is exactly what we do inside Fashion Premier Academy. I don't want aspiring designers to spend years collecting random pieces of information, one tutorial here, a class there, and all that. I want you to have a process, a path, a way of moving from idea to design to collection to brand. Okay? All right, let's continue. The second principle is style, ideas, and inspiration boards. And this is where things start becoming visually exciting, because now we're asking, what inspires you? What images attract you? What colors keep appearing? What architecture interests you? What photography? What art? What music? What people, places, historical periods? What textures? What shapes? What emotions? Don't underestimate the stage. Your inspiration board isn't simply something pretty that you put together because you're supposed to. It is a way of discovering your point of view. Don't just collect images, look for relationships. Why do you choose these images? Why that particular color? Why that particular silhouette? Why that texture? Why that photograph? Eventually, patterns begin to emerge, and those patterns can lead you towards your own visual language, towards your own visual style, right? Principle number 3, concept sketching. Now, we're taking those ideas and beginning to translate them visually. Your first sketch does not have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be portfolio ready or Instagram worthy. It's an exploration. It's just an idea. You're asking, what happens if I do this? And what happens if I change this? And what if I change the proportion? What if I make the sleeve larger and bigger, smaller, shorter, right? What if I exaggerate this silhouette or this proportion? What can I add? What can I change? And this connects directly to something that I've talked in my previous video, which is called Go Into the Unknown. Going into the unknown, very important. That's where the magic truly lives. Sometimes creativity begins with not knowing. You make one idea and then you ask, what can I do with this idea? And that's how a collection begins to evolve. All right, module number 3. This is class number 3 by now, okay, if you're still with us. And this is where something really interesting happens, because now you're moving from what do I want to create to how do I actually make intelligent design decisions? Fabric. Fabric is so important. Let's look at 2 different approaches to designing using fabric. The first approach is you sketch first, you have an idea, you sketch it, and then you find the fabric that will allow you to create that design. That's one way. But there is another approach, which is fabric first. You find the fabric and you ask, okay, what is the best design I can create with this particular fabric? You're not just imposing your idea onto the fabric, you're listening to the fabric. I always tell my students, let the fabric talk to you. And here's the second principle, the importance of fabric and using the appropriate fabric for the appropriate design. Fabric isn't just decoration. Fabric is part of the design. Think about it. The fabric is going to influence the silhouette, the movement, the drape, the proportion, the construction, and ultimately the personality of the garment. That's why a fashion designer needs to understand and get to know fabric. It's so important. All right, principle number 3. And finally, we begin to look at the properties of fabric. Things like the hand and the weight and color and many other characteristics. The hand of the fabric is essentially how it feels, how it behaves when you touch it, when you manipulate it. Is it soft? Is it crisp? Is it fluid? Is it firm? Does it collapse? Does it drape? Does it resist? And then there is weight. Is it lightweight or a heavyweight? And then color. Color affects the visual impact. Texture affects perception. And all of these things influence the final design. So now let's stop for a moment and look at what we've actually done. We started with the collection, we moved to the brand, then the customer, inspiration, concept sketching, and finally fabric and design decisions. You see what happened? We didn't simply just jump onto a piece of paper and start drawing clothes. We started with intention and then we built from there. That's the difference between randomly making garments and developing a fashion collection. Look, I don't want you to spend years thinking, someday I'm going to become a fashion designer. I want you to start thinking, I am becoming a fashion designer. There's a difference. One is an identity you're waiting to earn. The other is an identity you're practicing every day. You don't need to have everything figured out. you need to know what comes next. And that's what a process gives you. And if you want to continue this journey, what you've seen today is only the beginning, the tip of the iceberg. These 3 modules, these 3 classes, right, are part of my course, Create a Fashion Collection and Launch Your Brand. If you want to go deeper and learn the whole complete process, that's exactly what we do in Fashion Premier Academy. And if you're looking for something more structured on a daily basis, my app is amazing. Become a fashion designer. It's designed to give you daily structure and direction. So instead of constantly overthinking your next step, you can spend more time actually designing, experimenting, and building momentum. And if you'd like to explore the philosophy behind everything else that I'm teaching you, my book is called Design Your Future. Be a future designer. But here's the most important thing. Don't wait until tomorrow to start. Take what you're learning today and make something. All of these things have the same purpose, to help you stop waiting to become a fashion designer and start becoming one. Where are you right now in your fashion journey? Are you still trying to figure out your ideas? Are you developing your first collection? Are you struggling to define your customer? Where are you in the journey? Let me know in the comments. I read all my comments and I try to reply. What fashion collection would you love to create? I'd love to know. I'll see you in the next video.